Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Friends, welcome to the Encounter program, sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. My name is Mark Kimpland. I'm the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. It's great to have all of those that are viewing and listening to this program today. We happen to be filming this particular program on Mother's Day, and so I have an exciting program that we want to share with you. And it's concerning the Life Choices Center that is in this area, and we're going to talk to two of the people that are involved in the Life Choices Center. And I would like to first welcome Michelle Brown, who is the Executive Director of Life Choices, and also Fairlene, who is also a part of that. And welcome to the Encounter program. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Can you just kind of introduce yourselves and just share a little about what your roles and responsibilities are, or even a little bit about your families and such things, so our viewers and our listeners can know a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, I'm the Executive Director, as you stated, for Life Choices Center. I've only been a part of Life Choices Center as the Director for 5 months. Previously, I had a short time on the board as the Treasurer. So some of that finance background that I have has been quite helpful in working with a nonprofit. So my role and responsibility certainly is overseeing the organization as a whole. Also helping the board or working with the board to create the vision and the direction of the organization. We're seeking God, certainly, on a regular basis for that type of thing. And then on a daily basis, we have clients who come and go for different programs, different needs, different resources they depend upon us for. And then we have a staff totaling 6, including myself, as well as a group of probably 40 volunteers who come and go and support us in many different ways.
Wonderful. Eileen, what about you? What are your responsibilities?
Well, I am the Youth Education Director with the Center, and I have been doing that now for almost 6.5 years, which is exciting to me. It's a great role and passion that I play there with respect to where my background comes from. So I made a lot of choices that weren't necessarily the best in my life, and so having an opportunity to share them and take that little bit of a mess that I made and turn it into a message and help other youth is very rewarding. And I like to do this in youth groups in various churches and in the high school settings, public, and at the middle schools, other nonprofit agencies, and wherever the message will be welcomed, we love to go in and tell it.
Awesome. So let's start here. This may be something new to our viewers and listeners. It may be something they're maybe vaguely familiar with and such things. So let's start first with the mission. What is, and I'll just kind of throw a jump ball and either of you can kind of take it wherever you want. What's the mission of the Life Choices Center? Can you kind of share with us what the mission is?
Sure. What it is that we serve men and women before, during, and after an unplanned pregnancy. So we like to summarize it more in a spiritual way as well, is that we are able to restore hearts, or heal hearts, I should say, restore hope, and save lives.
Neat. That is a very profound mission statement. So with that in mind, knowing that that's what it is, and our listeners and viewers can say, all right, that's it, how do you do that? How do you go about accomplishing that mission?
Okay.
Well, we accomplish that mission in a few different ways. But first, I really want to point out that we offer free pregnancy tests at Life Choices Center. And we also have an on-site doctor that comes in and volunteers his time so that we can have the capability to do limited ultrasounds. So with all of that in mind, that would lead up to our programs. And there are 3 basic programs that we use. And the programs at Life Choices all have to do with the word choices in them, because we know that life is full of choices. So the first program is the Smart Choices program, which is ideally a parenting program. So someone would come in and take a pregnancy test, perhaps have an ultrasound, confirm their pregnancy, and we would hopefully have them get enrolled into our parenting program. And the parenting program is a 5-week group class that would include male and females, and then it would branch out into one-on-one mentoring. And that's where our volunteers play a huge role. They would meet with these clients of ours one-on-one for a period of up to the child being a year old. So if a woman came in and was 2 months pregnant, that would be, a year and 7 months worth of free mentoring. And during those mentoring classes, they're taught how to have proper nutrition for a child, how to have proper discipline, perhaps how to swaddle, and anything individualized per each person and client and what their need would be. And what's really cool about this program is that it's an earn while you learn program. So every time they come in and they do their mentoring assignment, keep their appointments, or whatever task it is that's been set out for them for the week, they earn points. And we take those points and we turn them into a paycheck. And they're able to shop at our on-site baby store. And so they're not only getting the support that they need to be a great parent, but they're getting the physical things that they need, which would include diapers and formula and clothing and seats and cribs and all the rest of the things that would go with it. So it's tried to be a really exclusive, all-inclusive Smart Choices program. Another program that we utilize, again, dealing with the word choice, would be Beyond the Choice, which is an abortion recovery program. And not necessarily recovery physically, but recovery emotionally and mentally and spiritually. The people that help mentor this program have mainly experienced abortion themselves. So it's quite easy for them to sit and understand and provide that forum for young women and even men to be able to talk about the choice that they made, perhaps not long ago or a very long time ago. And we now know that there is a syndrome attached to that called PASS, which is post-abortive stress syndrome. So it's starting to get documented that it's actually real, right, and that it can be very harmful when it's something that's held in for a long period of time. And it's very similar to PTSD and any other traumatic experience that you might have. And just to know that you don't need to stay underneath the shame and the guilt that's associated with abortion, that you can break out from that and learn what it's like to be forgiven and to have some healing so that the rest of your life isn't affected or impacted from that choice any longer.
Profound.
Mm-hmm.
Profound.
And the Positive Choice program is the program that I run at the center doing youth education work. And ideally, it's just the truth about love and sex and relationships. Mm-hmm. And, explaining to youth what love really is, and that it's a verb, and that you put it into motion, and it's not just an act that you do. And so there's a lot of different avenues we like to use to teach that, of self-control and delayed gratification and all of the things that go with it. Mm-hmm. But I'll talk more about that later on. So.
Powerful message in these days and times. Wow.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. Knowing that Smart Choices has a parenting program and such things, how does the Life Choices Center, in the instance that parenting the client doesn't choose to parent?
Right.
Again, choices.
You do have choices.
What if
right.
Either side and such things? How do you go about doing that?
Well, there are only 3 choices once you become pregnant, and that is to either parent, adoption, or abortion. Mm-hmm. So I've told you how we're trying to assist with the parenting classes should they choose to parent. Then the other option would be adoption. Mm-hmm. Adoption is a very viable option, obviously, for young mothers to make, although it's not an easy decision. For a young woman to be able to wrap her mind around that she wants what's best for her child, but to be able to say that I'm not it right now, and to make another option for her of adoption is not difficult. Is a difficult choice to make. So we have an agency that we have assist us in that, and they're out of Syracuse, and they'll come down, and we actually have a liaison that's trained staff on Life Choices staff, and she'll also work with them together, and we will explain all of the things that adoption can offer. First of all, it's not giving your child away. It's actually giving your child something, life and love and a family and things that you're not capable of. And then there are different kinds of adoptions now. It's not just, you have your child and you place it somewhere else and that's the end of the story. The agency will explain to them and work alongside of them to help them choose the best method for adoption. So whether it's closed and there's no contact at all after, or that it's semi-opened, there's contact allowed, but it goes through the agency as a central spot. And then there's completely opened, where you make that agreement in advance with the parents that are adopting your child, and you're able to go back and forth and have communication with them. And you also can look through portfolios now and place your child in a home that you would like best for them to live in. You know, maybe they have more than one sibling, maybe they have a certain faith, or they live in the country as opposed to the city. And so there's just a lot of options now with adoption. So we like to make sure that they know all about that as well.
Well, that's exciting. That's come a long way then.
Right.
A lot of people would not know that. Yeah.
Certainly.
Wonderful. Can you explain what you mean by a sexual risk avoidance? I've heard that kind of bantered around a little bit. What do we mean by that? Can you unpack that for me?
Okay, so sexual risk avoidance. This is ideally what we're teaching in the youth education program.
Okay.
But as a preface to that, I would like to state that we live in a very sexualized culture, as you know. And because of that culture, constantly bombarding our youth. And when I say youth, I mean 15 to 25-year-olds primarily. So it's bombarding our youth that that's what love looks like. It's exploiting sex as just an event and not as this special gift that's supposed to be between two people, the way it's designed to take place in marriage. And so because they have this concept out there in the world, youth are tending to follow that, thinking that that's going to get them to their goals and dreams of relationships and love. So because they're willing to partake in that, they need to actually reduce their risks, or so they think, so that they can partake in that sort of a world. And so the message that's on the opposite end of the spectrum from sexual risk avoidance is sexual risk reduction, which is reducing the risk associated with sex outside of marriage. Primarily that would be contraception, maybe pregnancy prevention or STD prevention. At best, maybe that would help. But we know that sexual risk avoidance is the only way for them to avoid all the risks associated with sex in that manner. And the rest of the risks are a physical risk, besides that, an intellectual. You know, if your goals and dreams aren't accomplished and they're dampened by the choices that you make with sex and you become pregnant or carry an STD around with you. The emotional impact, because we know sex is meant to be something that bonds two people, and when that comes together and gets broken and torn and back and forth, it hurts your ability to bond. We also know that socially, my personality can be hurt, and the idea that I would have low self-esteem and high regrets. And they also know spiritually that that will separate me from blessings and being obedient. So there is another whole message to risk avoidance that we have, and it's versus risk reduction, which is a more common approach that's out there. But the only way to stay 100% safe on all of those dimensions of who we are is to avoid the risk. And we believe that our youth are worth it, and that's the message we proclaim.
Yes. Choices.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We happen to be doing what we're doing right now on Mother's Day,
Yes.
which is interesting. But you mentioned things and programs for women. Do you offer anything to support men in this process?
Of course we do, because we know that men are the other part of the equation for pregnancy. So certainly they're welcome to join in on all of the parenting classes, the one-on-one mentoring, and anything else that the center would do. They would be welcomed with, and we know that their role is necessary to support the pregnant woman and to also play a father role in a child's life. So yes, men are very welcomed, and men are very much a part of the equation, and we know that.
Awesome.
Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. As Pastor Mark said, I'm the director of Life Choices Center. We are a pregnancy resource center. We have 2 locations, Binghamton on Oak Street, right across from the Binghamton High School, and also on McMaster Street in Owego, across from the Agway. We serve the community. We have 3 different programs that helps us to serve our mission, which is to serve men and women before, during, and after an unplanned pregnancy. We do this, as I said, with 3 programs. One of those programs is called Positive Choices, and you'll notice all of our programs end in choices, as our title of our organization is Life Choices. So Positive Choices is where our youth and education director goes into schools, churches, universities, and she speaks to our youth about sex and healthy relationships. They're getting a lot of messages from the world. We want them to hear a message about truth. One of the things she talks about is risk avoidance versus risk reduction. It's a different message, as I said. It's not one they're hearing from the rest of the world, and we feel that the children need to hear that, the youth need to hear that, to be able to make a good decision for their lives. The second program we have is called Smart Choices. We offer free pregnancy tests through our Smart Choices. If a woman finds herself pregnant, we do refer for an on-site ultrasound. We have a doctor who volunteers his time to come in and do that for us. That ultrasound is only to confirm pregnancy, but the amazing thing is we had donated to us this ultrasound machine from Shenango Memorial Hospital. It is a Doppler machine, so she not only sees the heartbeat, but she also hears the heartbeat, and it's actually color as well, so she sees the flow of that fluid around that baby. 9 times out of 10, research tells us that if a woman sees the heartbeat of her unborn child, she will choose life. The other part of our Smart Choices program is parenting classes. So whether she's found out she's pregnant through us or some other resource, or many times we get referred from Department of Social Services, young women and men who have had their children taken away, we try to help them by giving them education with parenting classes. Those parenting classes, after 5 of those, they can choose to continue on with us in our mentoring program. And that program, it gets a little freer. It's a one-on-one program with a mentor, and they get to choose areas of interest that we can teach them about that are specific to their needs. That program, between the adult classes and the mentoring program, goes on for until the child is a year old. So it's almost full 2 years that these young parents